In this second episode, let me give more clarifications as to who should we give a priority in these categories of the poor and the needy. Because there could be an individual, the needy but is healthier compared to the other individual who is poor or needy but is sick. So who should we prioritize? So the first category that we should prioritize under these two groups is the widows. Those who have lost their husbands, who have lost their breadwinners, and have aitam, they have orphans, they have kids. These are women who lost their husbands and have aitam, have kids. This should be a prioritized group under the needy and the poor. And why I'm saying this? Because saying this with an understanding of the prophetic hadith that really prioritized this group when he said that الساعي على الأرملة والمسكين كالمجاهد في سبيل الله. That the person who strives to meet the needs of the widow and the poor is like the person who is striving in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like a mujahid on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, widow with kids should be given a priority under these two categories. The other are the sick. Is the person who doesn't have means, is a poor person or a needy person and is sick, needs medical treatment, medical care. Some of this medical care are short-term. To some, it is a lifelong medical care that they need to be taken through treatments every day or every month, and so on and so forth. May Allah give us health. So this is another category of the sick, poor, or needy that needs medication in order to cure them or to relieve them from the pain that they go through. And I'm mentioning this is because we know in the Maqasid al-Sharia, Sadd al-Dhara'i is highly prioritized, that preventing harm, relieving harm is prioritized compared to delivering benefits. So a person who is going through pains due to sickness, we need to help that person through zakat if he is a poor or a needy. The other category is handicapped, that cannot work. This could be a person who is again the poor or a needy, but beside that, he is also a handicapped. He is a blind man or a blind woman, or a person who has lost his parts of his body, could be legs or could be hands, and he has no ability to work except to rely on support of others. So this is also another important category that we should prioritize under the poor and the needy. Those who are poor and needy, poor or needy, and beside that they have another test, another trial of having lost part of their body. The other category that we should also prioritize under this are those who are homeless, living outside. They don't have shelter, they don't have a roof over their heads. They can't afford rent. So they live outside with their families on the street. So this family or this person should really be helped to be able to afford decent accommodation for himself and his family. Another important kind of people that should be prioritized are the youth that have some business ideas, but they don't have capital. This could be our graduates. They are poor. They're coming from the needy families. They have some loans with higher education loans boards, okay, that they need to pay. Their families are really looking up to them because they had spent everything they had to educate them. And after educating, they are jobless, but they have ideas. They want to do certain kind of business, but they don't have financial capital to start those businesses. So these are a few categories that I have mentioned that needs to be assisted through zakat in order to be able to either relieve them from difficulty that they are undergoing through, and so on and so forth. Without forgetting, there could be again a category of youth here who doesn't afford mahar, a dowry. He has his source of income, but it's not enough for him to save in order to marry, and he wants to marry. So he's a poor and he's a needy, and though he still has some little sources of revenue, but his very dire need is al-afafa, is to get married so that he doesn't fall into fornication, doesn't fall into adultery. So he needs help to marry. He can be assisted in order to prevent and protect chastity of this brother, of this young man or young man, in order to help him to afford the dowry and marry and be able to move on with his family. Perhaps Allah will bless them with wealth and other supports. So these are the categories of people in specific terms that might be poor and needy that we should pay attention to. We should prioritize, look for them, and help them with zakat. Some scholars divide the poor and the needy into two categories. They say there could be a poor or a needy person who is able to work. Okay, this is the poor or a needy who can work and earn sustenance, such as a craftsman, such as a fisherman, such as other form of skills that a person might have. So who knows some kind of business and they need capital or equipment for them to start that kind of business. Then they say, scholars are saying, it is obligated to give them what they need in order to enable them to earn their sustenance for the rest of their lives, so that they are no longer on the list of zakat recipients. Productive zakat, because this category of the poor or the needy is productive, is able to do some form of work or business in order to sustain themselves. And the other kind of the poor or the needy, these are those who are incapable of earning because of, for example, physical handicap, like the elderly or those that have lost parts of their body that restrain them from being productive or being able to work, or the widows who are raising children, and due to that they cannot leave the children go to work and things like that. They may be given sufficiency, they may be given something out of zakat so that their needs are met. So these are the two categories of poor and the needy that we need to look deep into to understand them, so that we support them accordingly. Then the question that is critical here, and this is where again we miss the social benefit of zakat, is the question of how much should be given. Some people give zakat, but they are totally ignoring the scholars' view on how much they should be given. Zakat, you don't give it what you want to give. You have to make sure you give it properly for this form of worship to be acceptable. You don't just give a poor or a needy 100 bob, 100 shilling, or 10,000 shillings without understanding their needs, okay, and bringing them to the level of sufficiency. How much should be given? What scholars are saying? There are almost 3 views that I have gathered, stronger views. Others are really weak views that I don't need even to mention. So there are 3 views that are critical. The first category of this view is that of Imam Malik, Imam Hanbali, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Uthaymeen, and other scholars. This is the first category, which is strong. They say that they should be given, the poor and the needy should be given what is enough for them to meet their needs for a year, sana. So this is the first category. You give the poor an amount that is enough for them to meet their basic needs, which I mentioned earlier, for a full year. Not for a day, not for a month, but for a year. يعطون لحاجتهم ما يكفيهم وعائلتهم لمدة سنة. This is the first view. The second view say that the poor person should be given what is needed for them to buy a farm that would enrich him for the rest of his life, or business capital for the same, in accordance with the Umar's statement, Umar ibn al-Khattab's statement, that he said, when you give, you must enrich. Must enrich the poor or the needy person. But this, as you can see, is if that poor person or the needy person is able to produce, is able to do a certain economic activity to sustain himself, and so on. And then a third view, which is quite interesting, to show you the magnitude of zakat that should be given to the poor person. The view of Imam Shafi'i and Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam al-Nawawi and Jalaluddin al-Mahalli, they say that he should be given an amount that suffices to meet his basic needs for his whole life. For his whole life. 60 years, 80 years, 100 years. We will answer this, inshallah ta'ala, in the coming episode, so that we are very clear about this third view. Until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.